The biggest challenge is to find the right case focus or the decision focus. So the focus is like an anchor of a case. You can, with it, to connect different pieces of information and have a concrete question or issue for students to debate, argue, and to solve it. So without the right focus, often you will see the case either fall into pieces, have lots of fragments of information, but doesn't bring it together, or the case writer doesn't know where to start with. So in real life, if the case is really living case, that means the things are happening. So very often the companies or even the professors, the academics, they cannot see what is really the underlying issue behind the jungle of information. And this is quite difficult, a real challenge to find what's really going on there. So if when you work with a case, your resource person, that the executive in the company or your professor who's really experienced with the case topic, and then can see the shape of the forest among all the trees. So that makes the case very clear and also workable in class. So the first step is to find the right focus. I think a good case has 3 levels. So the first level, it has to be informative. So that means the readers or your students, after working with this case, at least they have to learn something about the company or what's going on about the industry. So this is the first level. And then the second level is have to be entertaining, have to be a good story. The student enjoy working with it and will be engaged solving the problem. But the third level is maybe the most critical level, is have to be educational, have a purpose to fit in your pedagogic goals. So a good case have to satisfy all the 3 levels. So be informative, entertaining, and educational. And I do have a structure, but for every case writer, they work differently. So for me, the first step is to always have a very thorough intake meeting with the company and the teacher. And we are in between, the case writer is in between. So 3 parties sit down at the table to discuss the issue, what we want to achieve with this case, and what company can provide, what is possible, what is not possible, and what's the timeline. So to align the expectations of everyone, and then make a plan. So this is very critical to have the first step and have to be thorough. And then from then on, I will take over, or my colleague, another case writer will take over, do the interviews and desk research, write up the draft. And another critical phase after that is the iterations. So you need to go back and forth with the company and with the professor to try out this case, to make small changes until it really works in class. So at the beginning, I also found it quite difficult to work with topics I'm not familiar with and with people I don't know. But a good case writer have to be a quick learner and have to read a lot to absorb lots of information quickly and fast, have to be curious about all kinds of topics. And over time, I realized actually a good case writer is, the key role of a case writer is a translator. So he or she has to know the language of the business and also the academics. The good translator can absorb the information from both sides and using his or her own language to tell a good story, to communicate this to the general audience. You have to be patient with your first piece of work, and don't be in a hurry. Try to do more research and find the good material with a good focus, and try to understand it, and try to find the company and the professor you can really work with them. Only you have all those conditions ready, and then you can produce a good case. And sometimes we often see inexperienced case writer and will jump into a topic just because the company, the topic itself is interesting, but without any goal or the teaching or learning goal in mind. So this will not work. And on the other hand, sometimes you also have a learning goal in mind, but you don't have a real concrete material to match the learning goal. So this case will also not work. So I would advise the case writers to take some time and look for the right material and the right people to work with before you jump into writing a case. And another thing is actually, and my colleague and I were producing a case writing book. So we aim to finish it this year and get it published next year. And in the book, you will see lots of examples and tips, and I hope it will be helpful for you.